Well, with that, I think I'm going to start the presentation. There was a webinar hosted by EAA, the new EAA Scholarship Coordinator. Last year it was, I don't even remember his name, David, and he moved on, but now it's Megan Hart is doing it. So this is a, so you should be seeing this screen now. This is a video, or a PDF file that they created. I took out the pages that really don't apply to us. This is a presentation that she gave. She gave it a couple times. This is just an overview of what the Ray Aviation Scholarship is all about. Last year, we had 142 chapters participating, 28 new chapters this year in 2021. We have an International Aerobatics chapter. And we're always looking for pictures and photos from our students. This year we're up to $1.2 million, $10,000 per scholarship, 10 for private, 75 for sport, 5 for gliders. We want to have at least 90% of the people that enter get their private pilot's license within a year. And we want to work with the candidates and the scholarship scholars to keep them active in the chapter, keep them moving, and keep them involved after their training is complete. And I think Matt is well on its way. You see Jeff on the screen. His son Matt was our winner last year, and he's on his way to working on his instrument rating and tail dragger rating. So once we select one, we're going to work with Glenn, our treasurer, we get the funds, and then we dole them out to the flight school. And we do interactive reporting. We have 3 milestones: the completion of the solo, completion of the written, and then the final check ride. And now I still have some work to do to finish up Matt's paperwork to get it all up into EAA. We'd like to, depending on COVID and where that winds up, we'd like to have the volunteer the scholar help out with the chapter at least 2 hours a month, whether that's helping with the website. Being that our chapter is spread out, we really don't have a single. Well, we do have a headquarters, but that's still in Milwaukee County, so that's kind of been off limits for now. We don't do a lot of fundraising, but hopefully we can get back and do some Young Eagle lights this year. I think that's looking promising. I know West Bend has got one scheduled for early May, so we'll see what happens there. I haven't got it yet for this year, but we do get the program handbook handouts for the nominees, and we did present Matt with all of his hat, his first solo T-shirt, a polo shirt upon completion, and a pilot pin. So he's got those, and he was happy to get those. So the process starts today, where I wanted to give everybody an equal opportunity to participate. We had some members left over from last year that are still eligible. They have not aged out yet, so hopefully they're in attendance or aware of this tonight. The websites are all available there on the EAA headquarters, Ray Scholarship. There's several links up there for the student and the family to look at. And we'll keep going. There's more in here. So there's.
Excuse me, Tim.
Yes.
Where is this located? My student is at another event. I don't know if she'll come in late, but where I could direct her to see this slideshow.
This meeting is being recorded. I'm not sure where it's going to be, but there is, I believe, there is information up on the EAA website under Ray Scholar. There's
Okay.
probably about 5 or 6 links up there.
All right.
So if you see the bottom of the page,
Yeah.
EAA.org Ray Scholars, just go there.
All right.
Find
Thanks.
some links, okay? So here's the requirements for the scholar. Need to be between the age of 15 for glider or 16 to 19 for powered flight. Student pilot medical certificate, student pilot certificate. Once we establish and choose a candidate, they have to be ready to start training within 60 days. And the 2 hours of volunteer service per month, we were a little lax on that last year because we just didn't have that much going on, but we survived. And finish up within 12 months of the application, not the application, but 12 months of starting, or when you're chosen, I guess. So the committee has to figure out the right scholar. Well, and the chapter 2, as we've flown with these young eagles in the past, the pilots that have flown with them will kind of, have their input to the committee to. We know we've seen the kids around the airport a lot of our Young Eagles rallies. And if someone's already training, that's a good boost in the arm. Matt had already started his private pilot training when we selected him last year. So that means someone has their own drive, their own initiative to keep it going, and we're glad we chose Matt last year. Between Glenn and I, we will handle the money. We'll send checks directly to the flight school. Glenn took care of that, worked with the instructor last year and the flight school. So we should be ready to go once we choose a candidate and get approved by EAA. So the funds come to the chapter, we take care of it. I trimmed a couple of these slides that I probably could have chosen this one out. We hopefully don't have to worry about the bottom right where a scholar drops out, but if there is extra funds remaining after the private check ride, if up to $1,500 can go to the student for future training, and Matt is using $1,500 for his tail wheel. So one thing we want to do this year that we didn't do last year is meet with the student or the scholar on a regular basis. And I think Teams or Zoom or even this Skype may be working okay for that, just to stay involved and make sure they're on the right path and make sure that we can help them get over any hurdles they have. A lot of good resources out there. There's a heck of a lot more out there on the internet now than when I took my training back and started my training back in 2007. Make sure that they want to fly, schedule to fly at least 3 to 4 times a week. Study at home and be ready to take the written when that, as soon as you can after your solo. That'll keep things going, keep the money coming. And try and focus on it. My philosophy, and I think a few of our other committee members were stating, agreed with me that once you're selected, this is your job. Your job, you're getting paid $10,000 to earn your private pilot certificate. So that should be your job. It should be your focus. And do it when the weather's good and see if you can get it done before school comes back. So this is our initial kickoff meeting. Well, this is we haven't picked our scholar, but once we pick the scholar, then we will meet and make sure we can all come to agreement. We'll sign off, and there'll be a commitment from the parent, the student, the flight instructor, and the committee. And we do want to, again, the monthly check-in, we want to have articles and photos in the newsletter every month. Glenn and I will keep track of how the money is going and the flight hours, and just to make sure we can keep the scholar on track. I don't know that we have the ability to support rotating resources. If a student needs it, we could probably have a member that could volunteer or something like that. But I know when I started my training, one of the first things I bought was a headset, so I wasn't paying a rental all the time. And most E6Bs, you can even get those online now. There's apps for smartphones for the E6B. Plotter, you probably need to buy one of those, and a scale. So hopefully we'll be meeting more regularly this year so we can celebrate the successes. I know Matt was kind of working in a vacuum last year, so I feel bad for that, but I think he still made it pretty good. He had some nice articles for the newsletter, so that was nice. And I think, yeah, don't forget to get reimbursement for your written and your first flight lesson. Did Matt get reimbursed for both of those? Jeff?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself there. So Matthew got reimbursed for the written, but I wasn't aware that the first flight lesson could be reimbursed. But his first flight lesson wasn't, we did that prior to the scholarship.
That doesn't matter. That's part of Sporty's course. You have to sign up for the Sporty's Learn to Fly course online using your, I think you can do that from the Young Eagles logbook. And if you pass the 3 volumes, then you can get a form to get reimbursed for your first flight lesson. So
I don't know if this is the time to inject some commentary or maybe hold off, but I do have some things that.
Okay. Well, let's see what the rest of the slideshow is and see what you think after that. Okay.
Okay.
But these are also things that you can get money back for in addition to the scholarship. So here's M. Hart at EAA she's the coordinator up at the headquarters. We want to get videos and photos as much as we can, showing how much fun you're having. And when Matt gets qualified for tail wheel, you gonna let him fly airplane for Young Eagles, Jeff?
Well, we're gonna have to fight over that airplane once he's got that tail wheel.
Okay, good. So here's the timeline. We want you to solo within 3 months of starting your flight training, get the FAA written pass within 6 months, and then 12 months to finish it up. The EAA is going to accept candidates once every month, or every month they'll accept candidates. So I wanted to give our students, our applicants, time to get their FAA medical. So that's why, it was up to us to set up the dates for when our deadline. So would like to have everybody get submitted by the probably the 3rd Tuesday in April, so we can make a selection. We'll probably meet the 3rd Tuesday in April, and we can announce our candidate winner at the April meeting, so that we can get flight training funding starting in May, and they can start training as early as May or at least in June when school's out. So as long as we get someone submitted between March 2021 and October, we'll be good. And Matt did get a Lightspeed headset out of this too?
Yep.
Okay. There's a little more involved this year. We won't go through that tonight, but there's a little more of that checklist. They're looking for quite a bit of Instagram posts on how much fun they're having with their Lightspeed headset. So, and they only have 90 headsets to give out, but if you're not one of the first 90, then you can still get a discount and get it for $650. Oops, I went up. Sit down. So once we get the applicants, then it's up to the committee to decide where to go. I don't know that it's possible to get flight training in this in this area where you'd have enough money to start a second candidate. So we're not going to worry about that first one for a second scholar. And this is just for private pilot training. It's not to be used towards university or tech school. And we're looking for an agreement that if this money runs out, that the parents or the scholar has some way to keep going to at least complete it within the year. And it doesn't matter if you've already soloed or already started flight training. That's a good accomplishment. If you've already soloed, then instead of 4,000, 4,000, 3,000 allotments, you would just get the second. You lose the first 4,000 and then do 4,000 and 3,000. So you can still get 7,000 to finish up. And you can use the funds for rental, CFI, fuel, flying club dues, insurance, or check ride fees. And again, we want to be kept up to date bi-weekly or monthly to know where the funds are, how they're being utilized, and what the hours of flight training. Okay, and that's it. Any other questions?
I have a question, Tim, on that website where they're supposed to apply.
Mm-hmm.
The Ray Scholar application, whatever.
Yeah, they don't apply. They are going to submit to us, to the committee, and then we will look over all the applicants and make a decision, and then we will then take that information and apply it as the committee.
So that Ray Scholar application is not for the student; it's for the committee.
All right, let's go to that website. Let's see.
I guess my question is, and this was kind of confusing when Matt and I went through it, and I really don't even remember what we did, but I thought that he had his own login.
Right. Oh, yeah. You're going to create your own login. It's been a while since I went through that.
But it's incumbent upon them to route it to you properly, to the committee.
Yeah. The initial applications for all of our members and scholars will come to us first.
Tim, this is Mike. I'm
Yep.
wondering, step one in the application process, do we have paper forms or is it online through Chapter 18?
Let's see. I'm trying to get it to here. Here we go. So here's the main web page.
Yeah, that's the chapter portal.
Right.
There's another page for Ray Scholar application where the student would log in.
Right. I think once we choose a student, then we give that account or that website to the applicant. If I remember how we did that last year. But this is a webinar. This is the full webinar that anybody can watch. Yeah, let's see, there's resources. Where's the resources? Wise Hive is where we submit the Ray Foundation. Okay, here's the resources, Ray Scholarship resources. So there's the chapter handbook, the Scholar Handbook, Scholarship FAQ, the Scholarship Training Agreement, monthly reports, informations for parents and scholars, Ray Aviation Scholar alumni, press release, ADD, ADHA, FAA medical info, and the scholarship program member. That's what I attended, and hopefully some of the committee members also went. And this is where I, as the committee chairman, submits. And if we look in the parents and scholars handout, we'll go through this quickly. So once we have some applicants, we'll probably make a selection and have an interview with the scholar and the parents. So then we'll work together with the applicant to do the application online. So I think I turned that loose to you, and yeah, sorry for that last year, but we'll work together with that. So I can put this link in the notes. And we will give a hard copy of this to the parents. We've got the hard chapter handbook. Any of these can be printed out, so. Okay. Does that answer your question, Jeff?
Yeah, I think so. I guess my biggest question was, when you're applying for the chapter, the actual application is on the EAA website.
Right.
And then if I recall correctly, was there a place in that application that would route it to the appropriate chapter?
I think as part of that application, it's what chapter is sponsoring you.
Okay.
So there is no separate application to the chapter and then to raise it. They go on the site, fill out the application there, check chapter 18 is the sponsoring chapter, which gets the information to you.
The scholar candidates submit a written document explaining why they would be a good candidate for this scholarship. The committee looks at those applications and chooses one. We meet with that parents and that applicant and let them know they've been selected, and then we work with them to submit it to EAA.
Okay, so that's say that again. Where do they find the initial application essay form that needs to be submitted to Chapter 18?
There is no form. It's
Okay.
just an essay of why you feel you're deserving of this scholarship.
Okay.
Why you'd be a good choice.
All right. And just address it to Chapter 18.
Right. Send it to the email.
Okay. Which email? The you or the
Either me or any of the committee members.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Okay. And you have a deadline of when? Third week in April at the latest?
Third Tuesday in April is when we want to
Okay.
have all the applicants in.
All right.
And we'll put something in the newsletter for next newsletter, next meeting. And we'll talk about it again at the next meeting. And I believe we'll be in person again. And I'm thinking this format is working out pretty well. It's, to me, from this end, it looks as good or as good as and way cheaper than Zoom or GoToMeeting or things like that. So And it does most of the things through work and through Civil Air Patrol. We're using Teams for all that, but this has a lot of the same features and it's a whole lot cheaper. So let me see if I can keep track of everybody here. Jim, Mike, Jeff, Mike again, Steve Dawson. I've got a JE. Who is JE?
That might have been a duplicate of my sign-in.
Okay. We got two STs, Jim Hatzenbeller and MI. That's probably you, Mike. Are you in twice? Yeah, okay. It's weird that you show up both in the video as well as up in here. So I guess we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. Okay. I was hoping for more. I'm not really sure what happened to our other candidates from last year that weren't selected, but and Mike, how is Elliot doing with his flight training?
There we go. He passed his flight test beginning of August last summer.
Okay.
In the Clipper. So it was, I was more on pins and needles than probably he was. He took it with Dick Canusa, and the oral was 50 minutes, which was shockingly short, and the flight test was 1 hour and 10, and he was done.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so it went well. So now he's just looking to borrow the keys for the airplane. Yeah. So, but college is getting in the way of all that. So,
yeah. Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Well, if nobody has anything else, Steve, any other comments? Jim, anything else?
Tim, I have some comments, but
Okay.
it's more like just for the committee. I don't know if
Okay.
just some suggestions and things that Matt wants to do
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, and I do want to invite Matt and Noah Schwab to our committee and our meetings if they're available to attend, just to get, keep them involved and
Yep.
help them steer us in the right direction. So let us know what we can do better.
Well, I'm sure that, like the Tuesday evenings, those work usually pretty good for Matt, but I
Okay.
know that right now he's actually studying for a midterm. So,
Okay.
But just to touch real briefly on the things that I had concerns about,
Mhm.
when Matt's experience with the Sporties course
Yeah.
to do his studying for the written,
Mhm.
I thought that Sporties fell way short.
Okay.
I mean, Matthew is a 4.0 student and a really good test taker, and he got by the written by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah.
I agree. I had the same experience with Elliot. He did the Sporties course, then I had him do a mock check ride and oral with a CFI, and found himself woefully prepared for the oral through Sporties.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt did fine on his oral. It was the written that he really struggled with, which is what Sporties is supposed to prepare them for.
Okay.
Right.
A few years back, we had hooked up with a foreign exchange student from Germany, actually through the chapter.
I remember that. Mhm.
Yep. And Constantine was given a free seat in the ground school put on at Spring City just because I asked.
Wow.
And I'm wondering, I don't know if it would apply if the scholar chooses another flight school, but I'm wondering if they're doing their training at Spring City like Matthew did, if Spring City wouldn't pitch in for a seat in their ground school because Sporty's was not adequate.
Okay.
As a former Spring City instructor, I can tell you that the ground schools are, and the instructors are pushed to recruit students through their ground school program. So they like to have them in their flight program, but I don't know that it's an absolute requirement, as this would be a kind of a special circumstance with a scholarship.
Right. So that was my one commentary about Sporty's. Not real. I mean, it's a great, overall view, but it does not further your score on a written test,
Okay.
in my opinion. And the suggestion about the Spring City ground school was just because I know that they had donated a seat to their class for Constantine, just because I asked.
Right.
They were pretty, and I would think that they would be pretty generous if we're bringing them all this business with our scholarship.
Right.
That was the one thing.
Okay.
And then another thing, and Matthew didn't have much of an opportunity to do a whole lot of volunteer work, but not in exchange, but as a sign of gratitude, it was his idea to donate some of the supplies needed by the student, to accomplish this program. Something like, along the lines of the knee board and, an E6B and a plotter. So he was this was his idea to put together a package, not terribly expensive, but, for an 18-year-old kid trying to get through college next, that was his idea to try to come up with, a little package like that to get the next student scholar started.
Yeah, I think there was a kit here. Yeah, here's flight training supplies. So the rotating resource kit.
Right. And it's not even necessarily rotating so that the following student gets it, but, just a gift to that next student that's coming up behind Matt.
Right.
And
Right.
That was kind of his idea.
Right. Paying it forward.
Right. Exactly right. I don't think he's in for $1,000 headset, but I think he can swing a knee board and an E6B.
Right. Right. Okay. And I'm still working on my instrument rating, slowly back and forth, on and off. And this fall, I think it was this November, I signed up for saw it online, and I thought it was too good to be true, but it was pretty good. It was a free online ground school. They have instrument, private, commercial. And okay, I'll try it, see what happens. It was intense. It was 3 nights a week, 3 hours a night. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It was intense. I don't recommend that for someone just starting out, but and especially someone going to school. But I know when Spring City was doing their ground schools, they tried to do those, late January, early spring when the flying weather was lousy, just to get people in the classroom and get them prepared for when the weather is nice. And I don't know that they've been doing that. I really haven't been following along if they've been doing that this summer or this winter with the COVID going on. I've been trying to work to get the VFR club going again, but haven't really had much luck getting someone from Spring City to answer my calls, because Dan Gerard and I were part of the group, and I think Jeff Wisniewski as well, to get that kicked off. And Nick was also one that signed up to become EAA fast team members to help get that VMC club going. But with COVID, that kind of stopped. I was working on trying to get that going again, at least if not in person, but a virtual flying club, virtual VMC club. But I know West Bend is starting to go again with both a VMC club and an IMC club, and probably alternating. So that's also there. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Who haven't we heard from? Jim, you just typed in a little bit earlier. And Steve, any other comments?